Freedom means self-responsibility and self-reliance. It also means you get to keep the fruits of your labor. But on 9/11, the responsibility for protecting passengers had been diverted to centralized bureaucratic government. The government told us that we would be safe, that we weren't allowed to resist hijackers, and there was a prevention for having guns on the airlines. The airlines weren't even permitted to protect their passengers and their equipment. So respect for the Second Amendment certainly would go a long way. Matter of fact, if you look at every single problem we're facing today, it's because of the lack of respect for the rule of law and the Constitution. The answers can be found in the return to the rule of law and a strict interpretation of the Constitution. Liberty means that we have freedom of choice. The right to life issue is not an issue of freedom of choice. That is a definition of life. But as individuals and as families and communities, we should have freedom of choice. One of the most important choices that we should have, and we're allowing it to slip away, is the freedom of choice to educate our children. What we need is a restatement so make sure that homeschoolers and private schools are never attacked by our government. But where are we today? How many years ago has it been since the Republican Party stood for getting rid of the Department of Education and getting rid of the Department of Energy? Where are we on that? We have allowed our nation to be overtaxed and overregulated and overrun by bureaucrats. The founders would be ashamed of us for what we're putting up with.
Any great nation that overextends itself overseas and builds an empire, it comes to an end through for financial reasons. This is what happened to the Soviet system and many, many other great nations, and that's what's happening to us today. We are now in 130 countries. We have 700 bases overseas. We increase our national debt by $500 billion a year, and we can't afford it. We can't even fight this war in Iraq without borrowing from the Chinese, which is rather ironic. And what happens is we resort to printing money when we need it. We're overtaxed, our economy is weakening, so we print more money to fight these wars, and those individuals, like the Chinese and the Japanese, are no longer willing to loan us those dollars back to us. That's why the dollar is weakening. Currency destruction is characteristic of a country that has overextended itself. If we don't recognize that, we are in for very serious financial problems.
We have a very unfair tax system. We need a fair tax system. That means getting rid of the IRS and repealing the 16th Amendment. A strong national defense means that we have an understanding of national sovereignty. That is slipping away from us today. The neoconservatives have taken over for the traditional conservatives, and they do not have the respect for our national borders that they should. We do not any longer have national sovereignty. We have referred too much to the United Nations, the IMF, the World Bank, and the WTO, the NAFTA and the CAFTA agreements, and they should not be part of our system.
It's amazing to me how many people in Washington still think that there are no plans to move toward a North American Union. But we're in the early stages of it. Just remember, it took quite a few years for the European Union to develop. But the plans are there. There are individuals in this country, leadership in both Republican and Democratic Party, that would like to bring these three countries together. It's an outgrowth of the NAFTA agreement. And they also are planning a highway from Mexico to Canada, an international highway with the confiscation of millions and millions of acres through eminent domain. So I think we should be very alert to that. And if people believe in national sovereignty, they should be very much aware that the plans are that we will eventually have a North American Union, which is something I want to stop. The European Union started out very slowly and took quite a few years. The people generally were opposed to it, but very often the propaganda and all the effort overcame the resistance of the people. And now today they do have a European Union, which I think ultimately is a organization that will remain unstable because it becomes artificial rather than natural. So I think even if you granted the benefit of the doubt to those who like the North American Union for what they think are good reasons, I think it will be unstable. Just the idea of putting these three countries together. There's still a nationalistic spirit among the three countries. But this doesn't mean that we have to, be enemies with our neighbors. I think the more we can trade and visit with people, the better. But I don't like big government. I don't even like big government in Washington, let alone having super government over our federal government, such as a North American Union or the United Nations or any of these organizations. Just mean more government and more attack on individual sovereignty, which is the real issue.
We've been weak on immigration, and we need to reassess that. We should never reward illegal immigration. We should revalue this idea, the misinterpretation of the Constitution, that anybody who is just born here is a natural citizen. That needs to be revisited.
Well, the thing that I emphasize the most on the immigration problem is to get rid of the subsidies. Amnesty is a subsidy. Automatic birthright citizenship is a subsidy. Free food, free health care, free education, those are subsidies. So I want to get rid of those. And I think we would have a lot less of the illegal immigration. So I'm positively opposed to illegal immigration. And if we had a healthier economy, I think the American people would be a lot more tolerant of some type of an immigration policy that would satisfy all of us. This is a real problem. Nobody knows how many illegals are here. There could be 15 or 20 million, so practically speaking, you can't round them all up and throw them out, but you can stop giving them subsidies or having federal mandates on the states to provide these free services, which are literally bankrupting our school districts and our hospitals. So therefore, if we did the right thing, say an illegal immigrant commits a crime, I mean, I certainly think that has exposed them for sending them back home. But they should never be given automatic citizenship. The amnesty program is just an invitation to get more illegals to come here. I certainly wouldn't give a driver's license to illegal immigrants, and that's what's been proposed. So if you give them a driver's license, it's more or less legalizing an illegal immigrant. So I don't think we should do that. That's a first step on the road to amnesty.